Hello and welcome to MIP TV. And with me, as always, is the Fab Bob Cook, who's going to review a book that is going to be published next year, but was published this year, which is 2019, but it says 2020. It does, doesn't it? And it's The Evolutions of Relational Paradigms in Transactional Analysis by Helena Hargenden and William F. Cornell. Two well-known names in the world of transactional analysis. And what is this book about, Bob?
In many ways, you know, it's a book for advanced readers in transactional analysis, if you like. So if you did buy this book, it'd probably be for experienced clinicians or people who are maybe fourth-year students who are interested in the arc of relational transactional analysis from Burns' day right up to 2020, as it says in the book, which I find bizarre. It's published by Routledge, and they've got 2020. It actually came out last week, just Lena's, you know, so I don't know why it says 220. But it really covers what is it really? It's a book about the emerging relational tradition, if you like, of transactional analysis, and really talking about the relational turn within transactional analysis up to date. So it's a pretty advanced book, but it's interesting reading. It's 13 chapters there from different TA authors on their ideas of the relational turn, if you like, and the relational tradition. So if you're interested in thinking about relational transaction analysis since 2000 really, it's a good book.
Yeah, and if you're watching this in the future, this video was made in the October of 2019 to give you some context when Bob says the book is published in 2020. But I find it really interesting because the relational turn, that's a phrase that we sometimes hear. It's not a school of TA, is it, the relational turn?
Not at all. It's a term really which was, first of all, came into the psychotherapy world in the late 1990s. And what it means is that many of the schools of psychotherapy, from Gestalt, existential psychotherapy, all the way through narrative psychotherapy, transactional analysis, all sort of coming around to the view that relationship is the major focus for cure over modality.
Yes, and of course that comes from the work of John Norcross, the psychologist at Scranton, who deciphered two huge amounts of research with the American Psychological Association, massive pieces of research, and he came to the conclusion that the relationship was the biggest kind of indicator of success in therapy, not the modality.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they're both talking about, and they're specifically talking about what is relationship in this book. Most of the people who wrote the articles, from Patricia Clarkson, who died, I think it was in 2000, and she was a giant or genius in the world of psychotherapy. And one of your favorite books, which you often quote to me about the five something of psychotherapy, 5 stages or something like that. I know you've read it.
It's called, Bob, the 5 relationship model, and it really kind of was. It was kind of Patricia Clarkson's I don't know, a kind of magnum opus, if you like. Yeah. It was her view of personality and how, well, probably not personal. Well, yeah, maybe how relationships are formed and sustained, and so she was putting herself on the map, really.
Yeah, so each chapter covers each author, and the introduction I like, because Bill and Helena are talking about their own views, if you like, their own journeys in the relational world. And of course, transactional analysis, when they talk about the relationship, they're talking about in the context of transactional analysis, which is all about reworking the transference in the here and now. And I like the introduction particularly. In some ways, Keith Tudor, speaking at the back of the book, talks about it's like a second edition of an earlier book, which came out, I think, in 2002, which was called The Emerging Tradition of Relational Transaction Analysis, with the same edited chapters. So from that sense, it's not new. The introduction, I think, is great because it talks about their own personal journeys in the world of relational transaction analysis. And Helene also talks about the concepts of transference again. But it's a book, I think, certainly if they haven't read the first one, Emerging Relational Tradition I just talked about, it's a good book, I think. And it brings TA in the relational world right up to date.
Well, I think there you have it, Bob. Certainly TA has had an interesting path. It's walked a long road from the early works of Byrne, who, as I know you've said before many times, was effectively a cognitive therapist when he first started out, with the way he interacted with clients, right up to, I guess, embracing the world. People like Rogers, people like Clarkson, and all the other people who talk about how the relationship affects the outcome. So the book, so the book is called The Evolutions of Relational Paradigms in Transactional Analysis. It's by Helena Hargenden and William F. Cornell. It does say it's published in 2020, but we seem to have a time machine copy of 2019.
Yeah, very good.
I will put a link in the description below for those of you who want to pick that up. Have a look, and why don't you put some comments in the comments bar? We always like the comments.
It's our 84th book review.
84th, wow! So there we go. And don't forget, while we're on that, to look at the playlist, which is in the main site, and you'll be able to see all the other 83 books that Bob and myself have chatted about.
We were younger then.
Through the years, we were younger then.
2 years ago, our first review, I think.
Really?
Therapy.
Wow.
We look as vibrant as we are today, actually.
Well, there we go. I think my beard's gone a bit grey, but there you have it. Well, as always, Bob Cook, thank you very much.